Consider supporting this channel for as little as $5 a month on Patreon. You can also commission future content for this game. Link is in the description. You can also send a one-time donation of any amount to this channel using PayPal. Link is in the description. I hate to say this, but I might have to postpone, if not cancel, the AEM-7 project because of a really annoying glitch I just now noticed with it. Notice how the wheels and pantographs are attached to this locomotive on both the leading and the trailing locomotive. Now, observe what happens when I go far enough away from the train for the game to unload it and then come back to it. Also notice how this other locomotive, which I also created, has its wheels and pantographs loaded when the train is in scene. Now look what happens to the AEM-7 when the game reloads it. Even though the one in the back has its wheels and pantographs still loaded, the attachment points for the wheels on the front locomotive as well as the ones for the pantograph are missing. Every other attachment point, including the one for the driver and the one for the cab, are still there. It's only the bogies and the pantograph that are missing for some reason. I still don't understand why this is happening, and for some reason it only happens to the leading locomotive. Notice how the one in the back still has all of its attachment points. And sometimes it happens to the front and second locomotive in the consoles if there's a third one connected. I don't know why this happens and why it only affects the leading locomotive. Now look what happens when I go back to the other locomotive that I created. Notice how this one still has its bogies and pantographs attachments even though I went far enough away for the game to unload it and came back. Let's zoom out and back in to try to refresh everything and see what happens. Let's go far away and come back. Maybe if we refresh everything a second time, the game will realize, oh wait, I'm actually supposed to load all the attachment points. Well, obviously I can't sell it like this. It's a defective product. I still don't understand why it only affects whichever AEM-7 is leading, and why it only affects this specific locomotive. I've made lots of other trains that aren't affected by this glitch, so I can't figure out why it's not working for the AEM-7. Obviously I can't release it like this because no one's going to want to buy a train whose attachment points just randomly decide not to work. This locomotive literally only works when it's being dragged around by another one, which makes it completely useless. Okay, right now I'm putting one of every single type of train that I have made for this game on this track in order to compare them to the AEM-7. Let's see, we got a SEPTA Silverliner 4, a SEPTA Silverliner 4 trailer unit. We got a New Jersey Transit Aero 3 unit. And a New Jersey Transit Aero 3 trailer unit. We got Metro North M1, M2, M3, M4, and M6 electric multiple unit trains. We got a Long Island Railroad M1 and M3 EMU trains. And then of course we have the fictional Series 4000 American Bullet Train in Amtrak livery. We have a train led by 3 AEM-7s, one led by 2, one led by 1, and one led by 2 weathered ones, to give you an example of specifically how this glitch works. Now notice how when the route starts, the AEM-7s all have their bogies, or at least the ones that are currently on camera, that is. You'll also notice how all the other trains that I've created in the past all have their bogies as well. No problem there. Now, let's see what happens when I go far enough away for the game to unload all of these trains and then come back. As usual, the leading locomotive is missing its bogies. In this one, the only locomotive in the conceits is missing its bogies. In this one, the leading locomotive is missing its bogies. And pantographs, by the way. And if we go over here, we'll see that surprisingly, it has all of its bogies, which is kind of rare actually. Usually, either the first one or the first and second one miss their bogies. And if you go to all the other trains that I've created, you'll see that they all have their bogies. So I don't know what's causing this glitch. So until I can find out what's causing this glitch, I'm going to have to postpone this project. I'm not sure if I'll ever find the cause of this glitch though, because it's very vague. The game doesn't tell me any errors, so it doesn't tell me exactly what causes this glitch to happen. No errors show up on the logs, so there's literally nothing to lead you to believe that an error should even occur. Nothing shows up in the logs to indicate that a bogie or a pantograph didn't load correctly. The locomotive doesn't trigger any errors when you click on View Errors and Warnings. The bogies don't trigger any errors, the pantographs don't trigger any errors, and the method that I used to make this locomotive is very similar to the method I use for making all of my trains. So I don't know why only on this locomotive will the bogies and pantograph not load whenever you're far enough away for the game to unload the train. This locomotive is cursed.